Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. As you can see, I am here in Arkansas, and so is Sophie and Amos back there. Looks like I'm gonna have to break out the fly spray because apparently the flies are here too. Oh yeah, they're getting there, aren't they, baby? Yeah. So yesterday was a very stressful day. Stressful for me and some of the animals as well. I had planned on filming the process for loading up all of the animals, but honestly, setting up the camera, continually moving it and all that stuff takes more time or makes everything take longer, and I did not want to dawdle. I wanted to get these animals loaded as quickly as possible so that we could get on the road and get them here and out as quickly as possible. And so I didn't film anything. There were two animals that I was really concerned about when it came to loading. One was Sophie, and the other was Nancy, our brown goat, because Nancy is a jumper. She's fast, she runs, she's not really tame, I would say. She's kind of on the wild side. But oddly enough, she was actually one of the easiest goats to load because we saved her for last. And when we did, she ran right towards the other goats. So she was actually pretty easy. Coming here was generally uneventful. Of course, we did have to drive slower than we normally would because I was pulling my livestock trailer, which is parked over there, and my friend Lisa was pulling hers with all of the goats. We brought the last two Icelandic chickens that were still there, a rooster and hen. I will integrate them in with the other flock since I do have a batch of Icelandic eggs in my incubator right now that will be hatching any day. We'll create a separate flock for them, which means I'll be building another one of those cattle panel structures, kind of like that, but as a chicken coop. Haven't decided where I'm going to put them quite yet, but we will just kind of figure that out. I figure from hatch time to 4 weeks. 4 weeks is when they're fully feathered and have got to get out of the brooder. So I will be working on that very soon. Thankfully, as you saw, they're pretty quick to do. You can generally get one done in a day if you've got everything on hand and you don't have to run to the store. But the chickens are here, the goats are here. Everybody's here and safe. I just got done doing a run to go pick up hay. I'm finding that was something I was not anticipating, is having a hard time finding it. And I ended up driving quite a ways to get hay. I actually got as much as could fit in my truck, and I'm actually contemplating going back again maybe tomorrow and picking up another load and getting as much as I can within reason. I had to make several phone calls this morning to find anybody who had hay, and when they did find somebody in the system that had some hay, the people I was speaking to were actually shocked, and they're like, well, they must have found some somewhere, because I guess, you know, I had been hearing about hay shortages in parts of the country, but we didn't really have any shortages in Alabama. But of course now we're a lot further west, and you know, we're actually very near Oklahoma. It's definitely a different climate here. It's definitely a different part of the country. But in any case, everybody is good to go. I am going to go see if I've got the stuff for my fly spray. I should have it here. And if I do, I'm going to have to mix them up because we've got some horse flies out here already. And these guys are not appreciating that. Hi, Nosy. Ah, buddy. Alright, so the bucks are in this area right here. You can probably see Vincent Van Goat up there, Vinny. Michael's up further on the hill. So this is their main area right here that you can see. I've got 2 extra large jumbo dog houses in there for them to shelter down in. And I have a second area that I have that goes way up the hill, and I can close that off and move that section around and give them access to different areas. And so this is where they are, and they're doing great. I mean, they seem to really take to their new environment. Now over here is the other goats, our big goats. They have not been quite so adventurous. They have really been sticking close to their shelter. They're a little more nervous about being in a new location. However, as soon as I walk up the hill, they are right behind me and all over the place. But they aren't really going up there and exploring quite yet. And I think part of it could be the fact that until the last couple of months, we gave the bucks access to all of the wooded area alongside the property, or on the side of the property, and so they're accustomed to having all that brush and trees and all of that. These guys, for as long as we've had them, they have only been in pasture. We have not given them access to woods. So I'm thinking that maybe they are just not too sure about it, but you know, we'll give them a little bit of time and they'll get accustomed to where they are, and when that happens, I'm sure they will be up there jumping on the boulders and just having a good old time. Hi. Hi, baby girl. How you doing? Got your hat on, huh? Hi, baby.
She's like, where's the thing?
Hi, baby. Yeah, you see the goats?
The one.
Stumper.
Oh, she finally came.
Yeah, they were following me down here, both of them.
You need to go back up there. You don't need to go anywhere over there.
Yeah, they'll follow me back up.
Hi, Stumper. I'm glad you made an appearance.
Yeah, she came out and got treats from me.
Hi, kitty.
Nothing.
Come on, kitty.
Alright, so right back here is Sophie and Amos. And I've had a couple of comments about them being far from the house or too close to the road or anything like that. But you know, when you go driving in the country, you see fences right up to roads, and people don't think anything about having their animal fences where the animals can get kind of close. And that's on like busy country, you know, county highways and state highways and things like that. We don't live on a busy road. We live on a dead end dirt road off another dirt road, dead end. There's not a lot of cars that come through here. There's a few houses on down the road a little bit, so that's pretty much all of the traffic that we see. And we don't have the fences right up to the road. We've got a bit of a buffer. You can kind of see the road back over there, but it's a good, when I'm standing at the road, it's probably a good 50 to 100 feet from the actual road to where the fencing is. I've got no trespassing signs. I've got my equine state law sign warnings. And of course, I've got my trusty cameras that I put all over the place just to kind of keep an eye on things. So I'm not concerned at all about Sophie and Amos being visible from the road or the goats being visible from the road. And as far as the distance from the house, you know, it might seem like they're really far away, but they're actually not. They're about the same distance from the house here as they were at the other house in Alabama. And the goats are actually closer to the house than they were previously. It's actually been a little bit of an adjustment because at our Alabama homestead, we couldn't see the road. We could hear it occasionally, you know, you'd hear some louder vehicles or something, but it was still peaceful. It was secluded because our property sat so far back from the road. We had a really long driveway and we couldn't be seen from the road. So it's actually been an adjustment mainly for the dogs to suddenly see vehicles and hear vehicles on gravel when that gravel isn't our driveway. They seem to be getting used to it now, but all of the dogs, their first day here was just noisy. Lots of barking taking place because every time they heard a vehicle on the gravel road, they thought somebody was coming up our driveway. So, but they seem to have settled down. They've gotten used to that now, and they'll still occasionally bark at a vehicle going by if they happen to be outside in their area. I put temporary fencing up for them as well. At some point I'll put something permanent, but I just had an extra strand of goat fencing, and so that's what I put up. It's not electrified or anything like that. It's just a physical barrier to tell them this is where you go, don't go any further. And they haven't really tried to get through it or anything. They've stuck their heads through a couple times, but that's about it. And they're adjusting pretty well as well. Sophie and Amos seem to be liking their area. They have lots of shade from all of the trees up there, and it is a grassy area. There's lots of like meadow plants and things like that for them to graze on. And the area where they are currently, we are planning to do a permanent metal fenced paddock sort of area with their enclosure inside that, and then having a gate where I can take that movable electric fencing and then give them access to different grazing areas and kind of give them the ability to move around and have fresh areas to graze in and things like that. That's actually kind of what we did at the Alabama homestead. However, we just moved the fence a little bit at a time. I never really showed that, I don't think, but I would go out there and I would have like the entire area fenced in, and then I would move this side down and then I would move this side over. And so I would, about every other week or so, I would move a significant portion of their pasture, and we would just kind of go back and forth and give them fresh grass to graze on and things like that. So now, because they are not in an open pasture, there's actually not quite as much for them to graze on, But believe it or not, that's actually better for them, because donkeys and mules, because of their donkey genes, have a tendency to drastically overeat and become overweight very quickly, which of course is not good for their health. So by not having access to a ton of green stuff, that's actually a much better scenario for them. Of course, we still give them hay. We give them some pellets in the morning, hay pellets. And, you know, in the summertime, we just don't give them anywhere near as much because they don't really need it. And their hay rack is out there next to their shelter. They didn't even eat any of the hay I gave them for the first day and a half because there was so much green stuff for them to graze on. But as you can see, all the animals are doing great. They have adapted to where they are, with the exception, of course, of the bigger goats. It'll take them a little bit longer to get used to the area where they are in, and I go out and I visit with them several times a day just to keep them company.